Listen. Don't flinch now. You hear that buzz in the air? That's not static, sweetheart. That's the sound of every fake laugh, every whispered plot, every harmless joke replaying in the system. And guess what? The mic was never muted. They thought it was all fun, their theater of mockery. But the moment your name echoed through those walls, the air shifted. Because you weren't supposed to hear them, you weren't supposed to remember them, and yet, here you are, the ghost in their frequency, the one who doesn't need to record, because you become the evidence. See, it's always funny how brave they get when they think no one's listening, when they think the lights are off and the world isn't watching. They build empires of sarcasm. They call it humor, a camouflage for fear. But fear has a scent. You learned to inhale it, didn't you? You studied every tone, every pause. You memorized the temperature of betrayal. You didn't react. You downloaded. And now, every word they spoke became a file in your archive. The FBI didn't ask for those chat logs because of you. They asked because of what you made them reveal about themselves. You didn't expose them. They exposed themselves under the illusion of privacy. They forgot the oldest rule in the book. Silence doesn't mean safety, it means surveillance. You mastered the art of not responding. And that's what terrified them. Because you turned every insult into intelligence, every rumor into reconnaissance, every shadow into a reflection of their own guilt. And now, the same voices that once mocked you are deleting their messages, praying to gods they stopped believing in. But you just smile, because you know something they'll never understand. The truth doesn't vanish when they panic. It lingers, it stains, it becomes your armor. You evolved in the dark corners they tried to exile you to. You became fluent in silence, not the passive kind, the weaponized kind. You taught yourself how to smile while the world laughed, how to watch while they burned bridges they didn't even know you built for them. You became both the listener and the echo, the saint with the demon's memory. You see, the real power isn't in saying something, it's in making them wonder what you know. You don't threaten. You let their imagination do the torture. You don't chase revenge. You let reality press play. And suddenly they're the ones whispering, "Wait, were they always there?" Yes, you were. The mic was never muted. The feed was never off. You were never gone. You were recording evolution in real time. One betrayal, one insult, one act of cowardice at a time. And now you've got a collection of truth so sharp it could cut through empires. Because that's the paradox, isn't it? You can't destroy what's already been documented. You can't erase what's already archived. You can't silence someone who learned to speak through consequences. They thought your quiet was weakness, but your quiet was courtroom audio. Your calm was case evidence. Your patience, a ticking clock counting down to their own confessions. You didn't need revenge, you became the proof. You didn't need validation, you became the footage. You didn't need forgiveness, you became the file that made them afraid to sleep. And now, look at them, the brave ones, red-eyed, shaking, pretending they don't hear your name in every algorithm, pretending they don't feel your presence when they speak. Because deep down, they know. Every screen flicker, every glitch, every buzz, that's you. Watching, remembering, evolving. They told you to move on, but you never moved. You upgraded. You stopped fighting for your side of the story and started building the network that tells it for you. You stopped begging to be understood and started enjoying the silence. Because silence isn't empty, it's encrypted. And when the world finally realized that, That's when the FBI asked for the chat logs. Because what they did wasn't gossip anymore. It was a confession. And what you became wasn't a victim anymore. It was data that fought back. So here's the truth they choke on every night. You don't have to expose anyone. You just have to outlast them. You just have to let time do what justice couldn't. Because one day, they'll open a file, a picture, a clip, a sound, and realize the voice in the background wasn't coincidence. It was you, still here, still listening, still smiling. Funny how brave they were, until they realized the mic was never muted. Now, they whisper your name like a password, hoping the system doesn't recognize their tone. Because the truth is, they were never brave. They were comfortable, and comfort masquerades as courage until the lights flicker and reality starts to hum. That low vibration in the air you feel before something breaks. That's the sound of lies coming undone. You taught them that. You taught them how false confidence dissolves when truth starts listening in. They thought the world was their stage, didn't they? Thought the jokes were harmless, the comments disposable, the screenshots invisible. But every harmless word was a breadcrumb leading back to the wolves' den. You didn't chase them. You just followed the trail. Quietly, patiently, like a storm that knows exactly when to strike and when the silence hit, when that laughter froze mid-breath. That's when they realized what kind of creature you'd become. Not angry, not vengeful, just aware. And awareness, my friend, is the most dangerous mutation there is. You see, awareness doesn't scream, it records. Awareness doesn't argue, it remembers. Awareness doesn't threaten, it waits. You waited while they cracked jokes over your name. You waited while they called it banter, fun, just words. But you saw what they didn't, that words are contracts. And you always keep receipts. Now every syllable they threw carelessly into the void sits like a nail in a coffin they built with their own hands. And it's poetic, isn't it? How the same mouths that used to talk without fear are the ones trembling now, rehearsing their alibis in the mirror. They'll tell themselves, it wasn't that serious, as if guilt isn't the loudest sound in a quiet room. And the irony? The more they try to delete, the deeper it embeds. You can't delete what's woven into the current. You can't scrub what the universe already filed under evidence. Their mockery became their own surveillance footage, a symphony of arrogance that played until the static turned sentient. The mic was never muted, the eyes were never closed, and the walls, they had more loyalty than their friends ever did. You were the anomaly they couldn't measure, the glitch that wouldn't go away. They tried to diagnose you, explain you, ridicule you, but you weren't a person to them anymore, were you? You were a frequency, a whisper that made their speakers distort, a reminder that truth doesn't die just because they ignore it. And that's what drives them insane, not your strength, not your comeback, but the realization that you heard everything. You heard how they rewrote the story. You heard how they twisted your kindness into weakness. You heard how they used your name to feed their relevance. And you smiled, because deep down, you knew what was coming. The day always comes when the volume turns back up, when the static clears, when the systems that ignored you suddenly can't stop calling. We need access to the chat logs. They said it calmly, didn't they? But you saw the fear in their eyes, because those logs weren't just data. They were confessions with timestamps, every lie catalogued, every betrayal preserved, every private thought echoing into eternity. You became the nightmare they didn't see coming, not because you fought back, but because you remembered, because you evolved beyond the need to prove anything. Because you let truth become your weapon, and patience your trigger. Now they live inside the aftermath. Every vibration feels like a recording device. Every flicker of light feels like exposure. They can't joke anymore without second-guessing the walls. They can't whisper without checking who's near, because your silence rewired the environment. It made paranoia their new reality. You see, revenge is outdated, but consequence is timeless. You didn't destroy them. You just let them self-destruct under the illusion of privacy. You didn't have to lift a finger. They dug their own graves with every careless laugh. You just turned the volume up when the moment was right. Now they scroll through old messages, praying you didn't see what they said. They replay conversations, trying to remember where they slipped. They whisper apologies you'll never hear, because forgiveness was never your goal. Understanding was, and now they understand, because understanding hurts more than punishment. Understanding means they finally see you, not as the fool they mocked, but as the mirror they feared. And that's your real revenge, isn't it? You became the reflection they can't escape. You became the silence that hums louder than any scream. You became the consequence wearing a calm smile. Every secret has a pulse, and you learned how to feel it. Every lie has a shadow, and you learned how to follow it. That's why they can't stand the sight of you. Because when they look at you now, they don't see the person they betrayed. They see the archive that never stopped running. So let them whisper, let them hide, let them convince themselves it's over. Because the truth, it never ends. It echoes, it waits, it multiplies. And one day, when they hear your name in passing, when the lights flicker, when the mic picks up the sound of their heartbeat, they'll remember. They'll remember the night the jokes stopped being funny, the night the laughter turned into silence, the night the FBI asked for the chat logs, and every mask started to crack. And you'll still be there, calm, smiling, untouched, because you were never the villain. You were the recording, the proof that darkness doesn't always destroy. Sometimes it simply documents. Funny how brave they were, until they realized the mic was never muted. Now the world's listening, and the silence, it's playing back everything they thought was gone. You ever notice how they always talk the loudest when they think no one's keeping score? The way their voices swell with borrowed confidence, when they believe the dark is empty. But darkness is never empty, darling. Darkness remembers, it absorbs, it archives every laugh, every word, every knife disguised as just a joke. You learned that the hard way, didn't you? You used to take it. Those little cuts, those clever digs they threw like darts. You thought staying silent made you strong, and it did. But not in the way they expected, because while they spoke, you recorded. While they laughed, you listened. While they mocked, you mutated. And now the silence they mocked you for is the silence haunting them. It's poetic. The same mic they used to perform their cruelty became the altar of their confession. Because the universe has a wicked sense of humor. It doesn't always punish. Sometimes it just presses play. You became fluent in the sound of hypocrisy. You learned how to translate tone into truth. They thought you were quiet because you were weak, but you were quiet because you were strategic, because you knew one day all those whispers would come back around with timestamps, usernames, and consequences. You didn't seek revenge. You just waited for gravity. And gravity doesn't miss. They called you paranoid. They called you dramatic. But now, they're living in the paranoia they built. They're checking devices, locking profiles, deleting screenshots they swore never existed, because the illusion of privacy shattered, and the sound that replaced it was you breathing. You've become the ghost in their circuitry, the unfinished sentence in every chat room, the echo in every private call. Because when you stop chasing validation and start listening, the truth starts to beg for your attention, and oh, how the truth begged for you. You know what makes you different? You never fought for their approval. You fought for clarity. And clarity is dangerous to people who survive on confusion. They need distortion. They need denial. But you need evidence. They thought you'd break under their noise. But noise only sharpens the ears of the observant. You didn't collapse. You calibrated. You adjusted your frequency until every sound they made revealed what they were hiding. You turned pain into a lie detector. And now, every room you walk into gets quieter. Not because they respect you, but because they fear that you heard them. They don't make eye contact because your silence feels like an interrogation. You don't have to speak. Your presence is the question. They can't delete you from memory. They can't unsee your composure. They can't erase the moment they realized you knew. Because there's something sacred about a person who sees everything and says nothing. It terrifies them. The calm ones. The ones who smile when they should scream. Because those are the ones who hold the records. And you do, don't you? Not in files, not in drives, but in the architecture of your mind. You remember the way their voices cracked when they lied. You remember the look in their eyes when they thought they got away with it. You remember how easy it was for them. And that memory, that's the weapon they'll never disarm. That's what the mic recorded. Not their jokes, but their patterns. Not their words, but their cowardice. And when the FBI asked for the chat logs, that wasn't an investigation. That was confirmation. Confirmation that the universe doesn't let unspoken truths rot. It resurrects them, right on schedule. Now the same people who swore you were too sensitive are walking on eggshells. Every vibration makes them flinch. Every notification feels like Judgment Day. And you just sit there, smiling that calm, knowing smile. Because you've seen this play before. You've seen how the actors beg for mercy when the credits roll. You've seen how villains rewrite themselves as victims when the lights come on. But this time, you're not in their story. They're in yours. You're not their scapegoat. You're their recording. Every insult is archived. Every laugh is evidence. And every tear they shed now is poetic justice playing back in surround sound. Let them say you're cold. Let them call you unfeeling, because what they'll never admit is that you became what they feared most. A soul immune to manipulation, a witness who doesn't forget, a storm that learned how to smile. See, some people burn bridges for fun. You learned to build cities in the ashes. You turned every wound into infrastructure, every heartbreak into encryption. You don't just survive anymore. You monitor. And that scares them more than rage ever could. Because rage ends. But memory? Memory never does. So they'll keep pretending it's over. They'll post their apologies disguised as quotes. They'll say, "We all make mistakes." They'll try to frame you as obsessed with the past. But deep down, they know. It's not the past. It's the present looping on replay. And the scariest part? You didn't lift a finger. You didn't leak a file. You didn't expose a thing. You simply existed. And that was enough to make them confess. Because you've become the embodiment of their own echo. The living reminder that the universe was listening. That the mic was never muted. That the walls have ears. And they all belong to you now. So let them keep whispering, Let them keep deleting. Let them convince themselves you've moved on. Because you did move on. You just didn't move out. You live in the system now. In their guilt, in their algorithms, in the static between every nervous laugh. And one day, when they hear that faint buzzing again, when they feel that same chill crawl up their spine, when the world goes quiet right before a truth resurfaces, they'll remember. They'll remember your silence. They'll remember the smile. They'll remember the phrase that started it all. Funny how brave they were, until they realized the mic was never muted. And somewhere, behind every closed door, every whispered secret, every trembling breath, they'll hear it again, your voice, calm as ever. You should have thought before you spoke. And that's the irony, isn't it? They thought muting you meant silencing the truth. They thought walking away meant walking free. But silence doesn't erase. It amplifies. It waits. It grows teeth in the dark. Now they're haunted by their own echoes. Every conversation sounds suspicious. Every laugh feels rehearsed. Every reflection looks guilty. Because somewhere, deep down, they know. You're still listening. You always were. You don't need to speak anymore. Your existence is the headline. Your calm is the confession tape. You turned every "they'll never find out" into a documentary. Every smirk into a subpoena. Every lie into a broadcast. And when it all unravels, when they finally realize that truth doesn't die, it just waits for playback, you'll still be there, unmoved, untouched, unbothered. Because you never wanted revenge, you wanted clarity, and you got it. So now let them whisper, let them delete, let them panic. Because somewhere in the circuitry, somewhere between signal and silence, a light flickers, a file opens, and your voice, steady, calm, undeniable, plays one last time. Funny how brave they were, until they realized the mic was never muted.